Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here to review Wall.E. This is a film that I am just now watching for the first time. So, this is my thoughts upon this movie. In all honesty, I didn't think to jump into this film because I didn't think I was going to ever really get anything out of it. Then, after going on and watching this film, I can now much more understand why this movie was to have a lot more robot movies to at some point to be done. It makes sense now. If people were to really go on and find this movie impactful and they loved it and whatever, then I can really understand. It's like, well, hey, like if people liked this robot movie, we can do anything with robot movies now. We can do whatever. Like we can go on and really just do anything. Because with Wall.E, I wasn't expecting there to be much with this film, and then coming off of it, I kind of felt the same way. That it has its moments with its cute relationship build up with Wally going on and just seeing Eve from afar and pining away, hoping that he's going to go on and get her. And then when he goes on and confronts her, and the two of them start talking, and there's these kind of interactions, like, "Oh yeah, you're cute, oh yeah, yeah." So we'd go on to have Wally take Eve to his place and shows off all his ways and all his if you want to go on and talk about like Sleep in Seattle, like yeah, show her your swatches, yeah, she'll love that. So Wally takes Eve back to his transport vehicle to show him all his trinkets, and then this plant. Eve goes on to put it inside of her chest, and then she completely turns off. And then there's a blinking symbol that goes on and shows this plant, and it's green on it. Wally's very baffled and confused what the heck happened to Eve, and is trying to figure out a way to fix Eve to get her back. So, come to find out, Eve will go on and make her way back onto her ship of origin, and Wally will be so desperate to want to follow Eve that he'll do anything to even to kind of thrust his way onto this ship and try to figure out to be a kind of a stowaway in some ways, to then try to go on and get to the Axiom to try to find where Eve is. And now we come to find that Eve would go on to say that her directive is to be classified. And what her directive is to show that Earth has signs of life. So when Eve goes back to the captain to show inevitably at some point there is signs of life on Earth, they're like, okay, well, we're going to go back to Earth then, because there is to have us be able to kind of rebuild. So the captain is going on and adamantly like, okay, we're going to course correct here. We're going to go back to Earth. Like, this is going to be great. And then we have the autopilot that comes in. It's like, yeah, like, if anything, I guess you didn't see the last message sent from the government. And it's like, oh. So the government goes on to say, hey, yeah, never come back to Earth. Go on to autopilot your ships. Never come back to it, because, yeah, like, if anything, we've kind of messed up the Earth now. And, yeah, there's no reason to come back. But the captain is like, well, bashaw that. Like, if anything, I'm going to go back to Earth anyways. So the autopilot starts to go on in conflict with the captain, imprisons him. The captain is fighting against the autopilot, and Eve and Wall.E is trying to help him. As well as also we have even kind of the people on the ship that are trying to help one another, as just like the ship gets more and more chaotic. The autopilot is to be fighting with the captain, and then the ship gets wonky. So inevitably we have, of course, because this is a kid's film, somewhat, a happy ending by the end of this. We have the human race going back to Earth to repopulate it or whatever. But it's to be the whole event of getting us to that point. And I could say for this movie, I can enjoy it because of the visual of the film, but there is not much of anything of takeaway via the story of it that I can give or get behind. And that also is quite strange to me. Um because feasibly, like, there's not enough dialogue in this movie whatsoever. It's just Eve and Wall.E, and like that's like how many times do we hear that throughout this entire film? Uh like I can enjoy the love story, but I also could just be like, but why? But would I ever go on and ever want to revisit any piece of this film? None whatsoever. Like, there's nothing about it that is gonna get me to feel like needing to get any sliver or whatever of this is to be worth my time in future. This is to be one and done, and even that, like, even I was to take so long of a time to care about well, like, it seems that people could probably find Wall.E really popular, right? Like, Wall.E could be a good decision to probably review, right? Like, another like post-apocalyptic movie. It has movies with robots in it. Like, this is kind of a really wild pitch. Like, I just really want to try to see uh where this could go. So I don't know, just color me intrigued by wanting to just check out a film that more than likely will probably not have a lot of people really um probably even care about this after I review it. So that's gonna be great, right? Um but anyways, I'd hope to be wrong. I would love for people to go on and be like, "Oh yeah, well I thought like about this and da, 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 da." Like, I could probably say that like Wally probably doesn't have a wrong answer to it. Like, people could have utterly hated this film and thought it was boring, and that could make a lot of sense. I could probably find it boring, really. Or there could be some people that are going like, no, this movie is the best movie I've ever seen in my whole life. This is my greatest movie of all time. Greatest movie of all time. And I love the romance. I love the simplicity of it. I love the... Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there could be those people that could exist out there that feel both spectrum of this. I am to go on and say for Wall-E, my overall grading is that this movie is a project that after coming off of it, I don't care enough about it after watching it. So really, that is just my opinion. Um, I wouldn't say that this movie is to be horrible. Like, I'm to go on and just realize when watching it that I need more story, I need more dialogue, I need more um reason of what we're going on and doing here, which is not really there enough for me um to overall enjoy this piece. I just need more from my Wall.E, and I'm not getting it. So it's just like, well, like what was I really expecting? Like, I was expecting a nothing burger, and it delivered me that nothing burger, so I should have been satisfied with that. But I just like whatever. It's a piece I reviewed once, so here's where we are. Because I really wanted to find something with this movie that I could really take away from it, and I just can't. I really want to be like, yeah, this movie is profound. Yeah, it's a nothing burger. It's a nothing burger to me. Um, yeah, it's like I could say, yeah, like it's cute, and I can understand why they did so many robot things after that. But I got nothing. I got nothing past that. So oh well, like that's just my overall grading is just nothing burger. So with that said, I'm gonna go on and I'm gonna go through this movie blow for blow, scene for scene. You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? I'm sure this will be hopefully something that someone might view. I've probably gone on to realize that everything that I'm probably uploading today is not going to be a thing that really cuts the mustard. But hopefully, I'll go on in the next follow up day and really get more interesting pieces of content out. Because I'm planning on really trying to find some interesting pieces, if nothing else on this channel. Um, Hopefully I'll go on and be able to find the right movie that'll do really well. Some point, sometime, we'll hope for the best. Or otherwise, I found some piece of content and then I haven't gone on to follow up on that. So that's my mistake. So with that said, I think it's about that time, scene for scene, blow for blow. It's about that time to get into spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time I'm going to spoil this movie. Let me know in the comments below how you were to have felt about Wall.E. Maybe you were to go on and enjoy a very specific robot film and you want to let me know that that is to go on and exist in the comments below. Maybe you've seen Short Circuit. Maybe you've seen Chappie. Maybe you've seen any number of these other robot films and you want to talk about them and reflect on a robot movie that is to be a thing. I can look at stuff like Love, Death, and Robots and really compare that a lot to this. Even though those are to be kind of like episode experiences that are short lived, like I can look at that show and also look at this and be like, ah, yeah, like I can see why Love, Death, and Robots happened is maybe because of Wall.E. It makes quite a bit of sense because of how they had that kind of theme going on there. But anyways, let's go on and say that it's about that time to pause this here, get to the point of which that I can rattle this whole entire movie off, and share what is to go through beat for beat, note for note. Whatever I can remember, whatever is to be kind of cliff noted and put into my bit of thing here. So with that said, I'm going to pause this here, get to the starting point of this movie, and then rattle it all off for you, which I'm sure is to be not the most entertaining part of the video, but regardless, something that I put effort in and I enjoy doing, even though ultimately I realize that sometimes it's a stymied part of it where it's just hard to really break every bit of this down, or for me to just look stupid for me going on and rattling all this off when it is to probably be pointless to a good number of people. But I do it anyways because I just enjoy that part of this, and I'm sorry if people don't go on and feel the same. So, with that said, let's pause this here. Let's whip it out, because without a doubt, we're gonna go on and cover Wall.E. Okay, so in the beginning of Wall.E, we showcase how the Earth has turned into a desolate wasteland that most of the time has like these sandstorms, and we see that the Earth has just kind of turned into a landfill in a lot of ways. And so the more that we come into the beginning of this movie, like kind of visually how interesting this is, but also it's just like, okay, but why are we seeing this scenery? Like, plus also in every beginning of every movie, we always have to go on and just show a setting piece that's always to be some town somewhere, right? So the thing we see next is that Wall.E is going on and taking a bunch of junk and thrusting it into his chest and then inevitably dumping it out into box-like form. At some point we go on to then have Wall.E that has this cockroach or this bug-like following him, who I believe even has his own name that I think is Hal, if I'm right about that. So Hal comes out of this can and starts to eventually start following Wall.E. So As Wally starts stacking this box, we would then have Wally that sees this uh this kind of lid or this car part that is to seemingly be of a certain form of shape uh, that he decides to want to take this and collect it himself. He has this lunchbox where he takes all these random bits of items. And so also he goes on and he plays this bit of music also. Anyways, so we get the title screen busting in here. So we have this huge store that says by and large ultra store. So we come to find that a ultra store is to eventually go on and like rule over the planet, which makes a lot of sense. If you think about it, we'd come to find that like Amazon is to be like a company that we come to find is like a trillionaire, like the first ever like trillionaire for how much money they've made. And like look at like Disney World and all the things that Disney now owns, like the endless IP chasing thing that Disney eventually becomes, or just the big massive IPs that it obtains and has and what have you. So, uh, so big and large ends up becoming what is to be like all well known within this planet. So there's to be a newspaper that says too much trash, Earth covered, and so Wally goes on to make his way through town and eventually finds that the things kind of keeping his legs going, this almost like these almost tank like legs that kind of roll like down here. We come to find that the feet of Wally, or the track that's to kind of keep his legs going, it's starting to get very worn down to the point to where Wally is to go on and find right next to him that there is to be this robot that's kind of destroyed, but the legs are in good shape. So Wally goes on and replaces his legs with this other robot, and we then get to see his more cleaner legs. So as Wally continues to make his way through the town, it seems that there is somehow some things that are just still like hologrammingly operational, I guess, because there was no thing to just turn them off. And I guess nobody was charging or paying rent of any kind for any of these things to be uh, just on here. Like everybody eventually just evacuated the planet, and these just things just stayed on. So here's where we go on. We find out about what Wally's job is. That he's going to just be this kind of this construction bot that's going on making these cubes. That eventually people go on and to have made their way to this cruise ship. That's to be the next like appealing vacation site, this Axiom ship, and how all the people are to be skinny and and what have you, and then eventually we come to find once Wally makes his way onto Axiom, how everybody is to go on and be seemingly of nothing that looks like this same commercial. So we then have Wally that makes his way to his transport vehicle. He pops open this toaster that has this tape, and Wally goes on to pop this tape in, plays this video, and he watches it on this television. So Wally starts taking out from his lunchbox the things that which he scavenged. He finds the hat and he goes to the dancing scene in the movie and he's kind of like pretending that he has this hat. Oh yeah, this is what I can use this for, as like a pretend hat. Um, well, he goes on and starts separating his stuff from the lunchbox. He finds a spork that he can't figure out where to put. He finds a Rubik's cube. He goes on and finds this lighter, which eventually will be a thing that will be used later on, where Eve will find it and be like, ah, lighter. So Wally goes on and finds the love scene within this movie and goes out of his way to just watch it as the two human beings are holding hands. So as Wally is to go on and kind of, it seems to enjoy this moment, he takes a recording of the song that is being played by these two actors and actresses singing. So he records it, he documents it, and then he puts his hands together to just kind of pretend that he's like, yeah, this is what I want. I want somebody to like hold hands with. So we now cut to uh we now cut to Wally going on and kind of shutting down for the night and kind of putting his shoes or his tracks away and just kind of shutting down. So the following morning he gets back up, he gets his lunchbox, he gets ready for his day, he goes on to eventually meet up with Hal, which is this bug. Well, he almost accidentally crushes the bug. He's like, "Oh!" So he goes on and he's like, "Oh, yeah, you're still okay? All right, okay." So while he goes on and he is to eventually find more stuff to eventually figure out whether or not he's gonna keep it or not. He finds a bra randomly. He starts chucking a bunch of stuff just in this lunchbox. He finds this wedding ring. He throws away the wedding ring. He keeps the thing that was holding the ring because I guess the ring has no value. He goes on and he has this toy, this kind of this ball and and wood toy where he kind of just smacks, and then he's like, oh, like this thing is really kind of going all over the place. So Wally, I think, goes on to find a boot, and then he finds a fire extinguisher where he fires it off and then goes shooting off because he didn't expect it to be so powerful. So Wally goes on to find this refrigerator. He slices it open, and here's where he finds the plant within the fridge. So Wally scoops up the plant in his hands and then puts it into the shoe, and then starts making his way back to his transport ship or his transport vehicle. All of a sudden, when he goes on and he finds that, he sees this red dot, and he's like a cat, and he needs to follow where exactly it's going. He hopes that he can scoop it up and be like, "Hey, what is this?" So as Wally continues to follow this, all for where it is, all of a sudden there's ending up being more than one red dot. There ends up being a bunch of red dots that kind of go all through the town. It's like, okay, what the heck is going on here? So finally, as Wally goes on and finds this one dot stop somewhere, and then there's a circle of dots that start to come around it, we then find this ship is going to land in that exact spot. Wally cannot figure out how to dodge away from this thing, so he digs underground to try to avoid to get just destroyed by this thing. And the ground around him, as well as also Wally himself, kind of gets very heated up because of that occurrence of just um, of the ship landing. So the ship lands, and here is where Eve comes in to be dropped off here. So, Wall.E doesn't know what this is. It's not like he's used to this kind of thing happening. So, he's just watching from a very far. So, as soon as Wall.E finds out that it's Eve, that it's another robot, Eve just starts scanning around endlessly, and Wall.E just continues to watch Eve from afar as also the rocket lifts off again, and then Wall.E is trying to get away from it and trying to go into the underground and just trying to protect himself. Let me pause here for 1 second. Excuse me, I just did a video before this, and also there was a number of times where I started this video and that one, so who knows how long I've really been talking for from all these videos combined. So I'm really just trying to get back to this and try to get this done so I can get both of these videos uploaded at the same time to see if anybody's going to really have it really be a thing that people will be interested in. Anyways, let's hope for the best. So Eve goes on and starts making her way through Earth, and at some point when Eve gets scared, she gets her gun out and just starts blasting things. Eve goes on to continue to scan with this blue scanner to eventually try to find any signs of life in these tires and these locations. At one point, even Eve will come to find Hal, the bug, and will blast him, and Hal somehow avoids that blast, and eventually Hal will get on to Eve's hand, and eventually Eve will decide to not kill Hal. So all of a sudden there's a noise going on over by Wall.E, and Eve goes on to investigate, thrusting her gun out and inevitably finding Wall.E. Wall.E goes on and pokes his eyes out, and so Eve scans Wall.E. So after Eve goes on and scans Wall.E, she realizes that he's not a threat and not signs of life, so Eve continues to move and starts scanning things. So Wall.E just starts following her, and we would then go on to see that Eve, it seems, is to have her own sleep cycle. She just kind of cocoons herself inside of herself, and Wall.E is just kind of looking at her. It's like, ah, you're sleeping. So Wall.E goes on, and eventually, as Eve wakes, makes a version of her out of junk. And then when Eve wakes up, she's like, oh, all right, well, I don't really care about this. And then she moves on. Wall.E looks at Eve and is like, oh, like you, I did this for you. You don't care? He's heartbroken. So, so Eve continues to scan to try and find what Eve's looking for. And here's where Eve goes on and gets attached to the magnet, to the huge magnet on a crane, and she gets stuck. So Eve goes on and she's like ripping herself from this magnet, and then after she is to go on and get caught by that, she like blasts everything. She blasts the ship that's around her. She blasts the crane. She blasts everything just so that way she never gets trapped by that again. So here's where Wall.E starts following Eve, and here's where they start talking, where they start to talk about Eve's directive. She goes on and says classified. Wall.E explains what he does. He just kind of gathers up junk and then makes it into cubes. They go in and exchange names. They find out that there's a storm brewing up from behind them. Wall.E's making Eve aware about this storm. Eve is going, or Wall.E is going on and trying to make himself into a cube. Eve doesn't really know what's going on, and so she's kind of oblivious. So Wall.E goes on and takes Eve with him to his place. Hal goes on and goes into the Twinkie and is to probably eat a little bit of that filling. So the two of them go into the transport vehicle, and Eve is to just be handed things by Wall.E. At first, she's to go on to be given this kind of stirring device, this kind of old-fashioned-ish like stirring device, which is to be done by hand instead of by like an actual like a plug-in or a battery or whatever or some kind. It's an old-fashioned kind of just stirring device. People could probably see it in the movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Secret of the Ooze, or this film because it's in here. So Eve goes on and starts using it, and I think she ends up like breaking it or having it go flying off or something because she does it too quickly. Wally goes on and gives her bubble wrap, and so they're just so tempted to just pop all the bubble wraps because, of course, anybody would go and be just tempted by this. So Wally goes on and gives Eve a light bulb, and she touches it, and it turns on. Wally ends up handing her a Rubik's Cube, and I think she figures out how to make all the shapes into all the right colors. So I was like, oh, okay, well. So next off, Wally goes on and shows Eve the movie. And so Wally goes on and gets his special metal, what he thinks is hat out. And he goes on and he starts reenacting the film, and he just starts kind of doing the dance and chucking and jiving and whatever. And it's endearing, it's cute, it's whatever, like I can enjoy this, but also I can feel that I've got nothing from it. So, just cute, like 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 I should be a person that likes cute and cuddly and whatever, but like there's just some stuff where I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Let's get past the point. Like I'm just to go on and not be so much like succumbed by like cuteness, unless it's a puppy, and then that's a different story. Or a kitten, more of a puppy than kitten. I'm more of a puppy than kitten guy. Yeah. Anyways, so how can you not like a puppy? Like, I'm more of a kitten guy, sir. Anyways, pushing on. What am I saying anymore? So, accidentally, there is a point where Wally ends up losing an eyeball. So, Wally goes on to be like, oh, yeah, hey, yeah, it's fine, Eve, I can fix this. So, Wally goes through his stuff. He finds that there's another eyeball there. He adjusts it, like, voila. So, here's where Eve finds the lighter. She turns the lighter on, and she's like, oh, fire, okay. So Wally is to go on and find the moment in the movie that the two people are to hold hands. Wally's hoping that Eve will want to go on and hold his hand. And it seems that then Eve goes on and starts watching the romantic scene also and sees the whole hand holding. So as Eve is to be so focused on this lighter here, we then next have Wally give Eve this plant out of the shoe. And Eve all of a sudden like scans the plant in the shoe, and then she puts the plant shoe inside of her, and then she turns off, and she has on her chest this plant green's ball of symbol, and then she is to just click off after that. Now, Wall.E is to just go on and be like, well, okay, maybe at some point, like she's just booting up, or maybe like, if anything, Wall.E just starts dragging the shell of Eve around, hoping that at some point she'll just come back to him, and she just continues to keep beeping that yellow green symbol. So at some point, Wall.E just assumes that this is some kind of malfunction, and so he goes into a part of Eve's body, hoping that maybe he can, like, maybe it's a battery thing. So he goes on and he kind of puts place uh, these battery charges, and he connects it to her, and he electrifies himself. Wall.E goes on and is carrying Eve around now uh, with these Christmas tree lights, and he's now with her on a massive tire where he's just kind of pushing her around in this what looks like oil or tar or some kind of very darkened water source. And it's kind of like in those French movies where you have the guy in the guy in the fancy boat giving the couple kind of a tour around France. Anyways, so it's kind of romantic in that sense. So Wall.E and Eve make their way to a bench. Wall.E sees a trash can. He carves Wall.E and Eve with a heart on it, and the two of them are just kind of walking the sunset. Wall.E tries to get Eve's hand, and Eve's hand is just kind of just limp. So so now some so now we have Wall.E that kind of has to get back to his kind of normal day to day. He has to get back to his lunchbox duty. He has to keep doing these cubes of scrap, because really, if anything, he can't spend so much time with Eve. So Wall.E goes on and he finds a lighter and he lights it, and now we finally see that the ship has come to take Eve and bring her back. Wall.E finds out that the ship is now there, and he's like, "Oh my god, I have to go and I have to find Eve, and I have to go with her. I have to figure out where they're taking her." So Wally goes on and he latches himself on to the ship as it's rocketing off, as Eve is to be put in some pod or some location where she's just kind of being held within the ship. So Hal is going on and watching both Wally and both Eve rocketing off. This is the end of Hal, I guess. So Wally is now attached to this ship, and as they leave Earth's orbit, we come to find that there's like a ton of just satellite dishes and all of this just junk, even outside of Earth's atmosphere, that is circling around the planet, and it's kind of funny. So there's all these satellites and all this crap all around the planet, and Wall.E is kind of like just thrusting this crap away from him so he can just try to stay on the ship. So now there's no gravity. Wall.E is trying to stay connected to the ship, but also he kind of lets go of it and then realizes, like, oh, he's just kind of floating, so he needs to reconnect to the ship so he can stay on there. So the ship even flies by the moon landing, or the astronaut ship that's there that was to have landed on the moon. So even, at one point they go on and they pass by all these planets. They pass by the sun. They pass by Saturn. It seems that Wall.E is to go on and even touch the Saturn rings and touch the residue from that, or whatever Saturn I get whatever that is. So is that Saturn? Is that Saturn's rings? Could it just be something coming off from some other planet that I'm not really aware of because I don't know uh, astrology that well. Astronomy, astrology. What is the perfect word for that? I don't know space that well. My bad. So inevitably we go on to have Wally's ship making its way to Axiom. So the ship lands. Wall.E goes on and he gets off the ship and starts to see Eve and a number of things that look like Eve all getting off of it also. And there's this device or this arm that is going on and grabbing onto these uh these kind of Eve robots and just pulling them out one by one. So we now have this what looks like maintenance robot crew. I'm sure every one of these actually have their own name. Like there's one specific robot that is to be called Mo, but then every one of them have either like letters or numbers that are to be their names, and how I'm going to remember any of that, I won't. But this just looks like the maintenance robotic crew. So if anything, the only one that we should be knowing is Mo. Mo is to be the guy that's kind of cleaning up after Wally's mess as he continues to find that there is some dirt that has come from Wall.E every time he goes throughout the ship, and Mo is cleaning it up. So Wall.E is kind of hiding off in the distance as they, of course, are going on and maintenancing these Eve robots. At one point, the crane even grabs Wall.E to have him to be brought next to all the Eves. So Mo goes on and looks at Wall.E and sees that there is a foreign contaminant on Wall.E and starts to clean him a little bit, but not exactly. The more Wall.E goes on and is to unsheath himself or kind of do any, like, more dirt ends up just coming here. This seems to be kind of like how in Charlie Brown there used to be that one character that always has like dust or dirt or whatever following him. That's to kind of be like Wall.E here. That there's no way you can exactly clean him where he's definitively clean. So now once they go on and they take away Eve and they put her into a transport to get her out of this room, Wall.E tries to track her down and follows her, which leaves Mo to be like, oh, there's more dirt on here. So Wall.E goes on to see this one kind of thing that has Eve on Eve on it, but it's not exactly her. So Wall.E goes through this whole hallway full of robots and crashes into a good chunk of them, and inevitably also crashes into a guy who's just watching the screen on TV, or what is to be, I guess, the future equivalent of TV via off of this chair, this projection screen of them just watching these advertisements for these foods and beverages, because that's all that really is to matter, right? So you get a meal and you get a drink off of a cup. Oh my god! Wow, that's that. I guess that's the future for you. That would be interesting to see if for any Wall.E promotion they actually tried to do that, like a drink or a meal off of a cup. Like, I'm sure there probably has to be that, right? Where like, well, if you took a meal and you just blended it, that's meal in a cup. So yeah, you could kind of technically do that anyways, right? So why would anybody do that? If anything, it'd probably be an interesting experiment, but meal in a cup. Anyways, so I guess soup meal in a cup? Whatever. So so Wally goes on and makes it into Axiom, and we see the whole smorgasbord of advertisements and this world that is just kind of building off of like how many commercials can these people watch. So at one point there is to be this guy named John who is to just see this bot and he throws this thing of trash in Wally's face, like, hey, throw this away. And then John falls out of his chair, and so there are these bots that are being called to try to get um I think that they're to be like the go-go's or the goes or whatever. Uh so this guy, it seems, is hoping that these robots will get him out of him just kind of being laying on the ground. And the more and more he waits, these robots are taking forever to get to him. And so finally, Wally himself just takes the guy, places him back onto the chair, and helps him. And then they kind of introduce one another. It's like, oh, I'm John. Oh, Eve. It's like, no, I'm John. And so he's like, oh, I'm Wall.E. It's like, oh, you're Wall.E? Oh, okay, all right. So Wall.E goes on and finally figures out where Eve is. He spots her, and so he tracks her down. He's racing after her. So we're now seeing like what looks like also babies that are in all day care, and they're in these pods too. So I'm like, man, like it's kind of interesting to just kind of see this society and just how they're present. Like honestly, something like this could kind of be effective for a certain, because like there's certain people that do have like problems with their legs and feet and whatever, and there's some people that do have problems getting around. So to just have this kind of floating thing that you can kind of get through hopefully your house or something like that is kind of effective. um but I'm also just thinking it's like, well, hey, like, but for the long term it is to really just go on. And yeah, like if you're having an injury, then yeah, like going on and having this to be something, if you need to be sent to the hospital, you can get into this thing and it can take you there. But yeah, outside of that, like it's just like, yeah, when you're just really just stuck in this thing, it's like, man, that kind of really is to really just like, well, yeah, I'm sure people would go on and have kind of feelings about it, whatever. I don't want to bring it up. I don't know. So while he's now on this transport that is also following uh, the Eve transporting vehicle, so not the same orange one. It's like it's a different kind of railing almost system. So while he bumps into a woman named Mary, and and she's all going on and watching this TV, and then she bumps into Wall.E, and she's like, "Oh, hey, yeah." Oh, yeah. So Wall.E's asking Mary if he can just go on and get closer to Eve, and Mary's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, go ahead and sure, yeah, I'll just move by." So Wall.E gets close to Eve, and Mary's just kind of watching off in the distance. So now we have a lot of these people that are supposedly making their way to the pool, where they're like, "Oh my god, this cruise ship, I never knew it had a pool before." Yeah, we have a whole society of people that, like, this ship is so large that they've never seen aspects of it. Or also, we're kind of playing in the fact that these people aren't to be, of course, very active. So we have to go on and we have to have them ignorant to activities like going to a pool, because we have to do stupid like this. Um, like, I don't. Uh, for me to have been a person that has changed my life by losing 70 pounds, I then go on and I look at something like this, and I'm happy that uh that people of all sizes and all shapes could be shown in a film, but I'm also to be a person where it's like I feel healthier by going on to have become a thinner person, and to have seen a movie where a whole society has decided to let themselves all go. I don't know if I can agree with it, but if anything, like, I can get, for the movie's sake of it, like, I can understand doing it, but it's just, for me, I'm just like, I want people to also, I want them to be healthy. I want them um, to not, probably also to kind of feel imprisoned by their own bodies, because how much, like we see here, you see John, he's fallen onto the ground, and he can't move. I don't know. Anyways, put my foot in my mouth because I always have to do that. But again, like, I want all walks of life to be shown. Like, I feel like whatever I'm saying here is just gonna make me sound like a horrible person. Um, but yeah, like, anyways, like, I take care of people in my life, so I don't really want to go on and explain that. Yeah. Um. Anyways, moving on. More and more, I'm gonna just put a foot in my mouth. Um. So I'll just push here. I'll just push on to just cover more of the film. So, uh, we now have the autopilot, or auto, the wheel of the ship. So the wheel of the auto is to inform the captain to kind of to get up for the day, because he's going to go on and he's going to do uh he's gonna do this statement, and he's like, oh yeah, like completely forgot about it. Like, oh, like you didn't wake me up earlier. Da, da, da. So while that's going on, we both have Eve and Wall.E making their way to the captain, and Wall.E ends up kind of hiding himself. So as the captain wakes up, we come to find how many years have passed and how many captains with how many autos there have been, and how all they look. So, and that is to be different than the captains of which that are were to have shown in uh, that brochure commercial thing from before. Because yeah, it's just it's stating it's stating something where this society has gone to. So the captain is getting ready for his coffee, and so the captain goes on uh to talk to everyone. He goes on and mentions about how this is a another one of those kind of anniversary kind of days, that people have been aboard the Axiom for uh, over 200,000 days, and this is to be their 700th anniversary and of their supposed 5-year cruise. So I guess that's just kind of a joke of like, well, yeah, like this is only supposed to be 5 years, and we've been here forever. So after he's going on and talking about this, he talks about like what free cupcake in a cup that people can go on and get, and like you would probably think that more they would be pushing the whole like food and drink advertisements, I guess, out of this if they're really gonna go on and really push this, then I guess we might as well just push it that way. So anyway, so Otto is going on after the captain is getting done with his message for the day. Eve comes in, they go on and they see that Eve has this green glowing thing about her. So they're like, okay, what is this? The captain has no real idea because he's never seen this before. So he really just has very much the machine that is kind of telling him everything of what this is because he doesn't really know. So here's where we go on and we have Captain McRae uh, that is to be told by uh, who is to be this guy? The Shelby. Captain McRae is to be told by Shelby, like, oh, congratulations, you've gone on to find this thing, and I'm trying to figure out where my place is here. I have no idea. So, like, we find out that Eve is to be a probe, and this probe has come back with them finding out that there are signs of plant life on Earth. So Shelby goes on to tell McCrae to get to his operations manual, and he doesn't know how it works. He's going on and saying that this book has a name, and he's like, okay, Manuel, like, tell me, like, tell me it is what you want to tell me. And he realizes that this is an old fashioned book where he actually has to go on and he has to read it because that's how old fashioned this whole thing is. So Eve, while that's going on, inevitably finds Wall.E, and then Eve gets scanned. So they open up Eve to come to find that she's empty inside. And we have McCrae that's like, oh, there must be some malfunction. Eve goes on and scrambles to Wall.E while the captain is distracted. And it's a look all around Wall.E. It's like, and starts scanning him. It's like, hey, where'd you put the plant? Like, did you get it from me? Did you take it from me? Where is this plant now? Like, that's the only reason why she came here was because of this whole plant. So McCrae ends up writing off Eve as a malfunction, and so he sends her away. So Wally then goes on and makes his presence known to the captain after Eve leaves. Wally goes on and shakes the hand of the captain, and he finds on his hand some schmutz because this bot is dirty. So at some point, the captain takes the schmutz and puts it on this analysis to see what it is that this dirt was. And they go on and they explain that it's a soil and stuff like that. So more and more, like the captain has no clue what it seems that anything is. So we have the captain, it's like, well, define earth, define soil, define. Eventually, like, the more and more that he finds out things about earth, like even dancing, he's like, define dancing. So this guy goes on all this pattern, like, even when like Otto is telling the captain, like, hey, it's your time to go to bed. Like the captain's just like, define this. So, anyways, so now we have again Wall.E that's chasing after Eve to find out where she is, and Mo is chasing after Wall.E to clean up his aftermath of dirt. So Eve and Wall.E are both on this floating truck, making their way to Eve, getting fixed because she is to have unfortunately malfunctioned. So as they connect Eve to this machine and they put wires into her, or what looks like wires, some kind of weird wiring connection. We have Wall.E that's to be forced into going into this room with all these robots that are malfunctioning. They're like the island of misfit toys. So, or in this case, the island of misfit robots. So, I think what I'm gonna do when I see that these characters are to be a thing, I'm just gonna call them like misfit or malfunctioning robots to have you clearly possibly understand the group of which that I'm talking about, because eventually they will become a group. So Wally finds one robot that is to be putting makeup on him, because we have one robot that just makeups everything. It doesn't have to make sense. It just puts makeup on everything. Wally gets a good batch of makeup as he's put into this kind of force field where he cannot leave. Wally goes on and just kind of meets up with the other robots and like, hey, yeah, how's it going? Like, what are you in for? So Wally inevitably is to see what they're doing with Eve. And Wall.E is trying as best as he can to figure out a way to break his force field, and so he does. While he breaks his force field, he goes on to find out where Eve is. He goes crashing through this wall, or this bit of like glass, like wall, to meet back up with Eve, and alarms start going off. So alarms start going off, and now all the malfunction robots are being freed, and Wall.E and Eve and everybody are just at this point now just trying to make a break for it. So let me pause for a second. I gotta. Okay, so the malfunction robots are all trying to make a break for it, and now we have the Go bots, or the what looks like police bots that are trying to stop Wall.E and Eve from getting anywhere, and Eve has her gun, and so she's kind of blasting away. So now the entire Axiom ship is to be aware that both Wall.E and both Eve are to be a threat. So now throughout the chaos, Eve and Wall.E escape the kind of the police bots. They make their way to this elevator. They find on the elevator that they're to be dangerous. Eve blasts the screen. So it's like, oh, okay, cool, great. Like, so Wall.E and Eve make their way to an escape pod. Eve forces Wall.E to this escape pod and hopes that Eve is coming with him. It's like, oh yeah, just sit next to me. We'll go on. We'll get out of here. Whatever. And Eve is not leaving because it's like, hey, I still have to go on, and I still have to find that plant because I want to find that plant to give to the captain, so that way they can go back to Earth. So since Eve is wanting to fulfill her directive, like, then Wall.E is to then want to go on and not wanting to leave without Eve. He won't go. So inevitably what ends up happening here is we have one of the GoBots that is going through uh, the escape pod, checking on things, and he leaves. And there is an accidental moment where an escape pod gets launched by accident. Wall.E is to try to control the escape pod to go back to the ship, and there is also this whole self-destruct sequence that goes off. So Wall.E desperately tries to escape the ship, and Wall.E's to also have this fire extinguisher because he knows that is be fairly powerful to project him out. So Wall.E goes shooting off back to get to Axiom, and Wall.E is calling out for Eve. Eventually, Eve will go on to find Wall.E, and the two of them will meet. So the two of them hug. They try to blast their way back onto the ship, and they make their way back onto the ship. And we have John and Mary that's like, oh, hey, yeah, that's Wall.E. Those are those robot kids that we saw before. Those robots we saw before. Like, oh yeah, go Wall.E, you go do your thing. Yeah, whatever. So, uh, so now we have McCrae that is going on and talking about farms and talking about dancing and defining all these things. He's like, there's a number of different collaging of pizza and all kinds of. I guess that's the only one that I can really see right off the bat. I'm sorry if food is the only thing that it seems that this it's more than that. Like the pizza is the only thing that I really see from the very one-sided end of the screen here. So so Eve gets back. Eve and Wally get back on the ship. There's at one point where Eve puts a number of towels on Wally, like, "Hey, kind of be in incognito here, kind of be in disguise." So the captain is now pretending to land on Earth, and he's kind of like playing around here. He's kind of like toying around. So Eve goes to the captain and gives him the plant that has the shoe in it. Goes on to explain everything that she's seen on Earth and documented everything. So the captain is looking at Earth, and immediately the one thing that he takes away from Earth now, it's like, well, if this is the new Earth, where are the blue skies? Where is the things that I'm so used to seeing on these photos? Where is it on this Earth? Why is it so different? So where's the grass? So if anything, when they're probably going to come to Earth, they're probably going to be very disappointed because they don't know any better. So but now, since the captain owns the planet Shu, uh, we then would have a point where Wally, I guess, is getting back to Eve. He's going through this garbage chute, and Mo is still cleaning after Wally as these foreign containments are still dragging on. So here is where Otto comes in. Otto tells the captain, "Is like, well, yeah, I guess you just don't know about the last thing that Shelley had gone on to tell us." And the captain's like, "What? What do you mean?" So, because Otto is going on and stealing away the plant away from the captain, and Otto is telling the captain to take the plant and just throw it in the trash. So Otto goes on and shows the last message from Shelby, going on to explain to the captain, yeah, Earth, yeah, you guys probably don't want to go on and ever want to come back to this place. Yeah, just be on autopilot, never come back here. Yeah, just honestly, like, could you really take that for his word? Like, could you really trust this guy? Like, you haven't seen Earth in however long? But, anyways, Shelby goes on and puts this mask over his face and then he leaves. So, Captain is very confused. It's like, well, wait a minute. Like, I have a plant in my hand. Like, like, what I'm seeing here as plant is to not go on and make any sense for the toxicities of Earth and it's, so The captain goes on and asks when this message was last sent, and it was over 700 years ago was to be the last message. So a number of things could have happened in that time. So Otto is saying do not return to Earth, but if anything, the captain is to say, like, well, no, like, if anything, look at this planet, it's green and growing, and this is to be proof that they were wrong. And so the more and more that Captain and Otto are conflicting here, Otto is saying it's like, well, hey, if you probably go to Earth, uh, you probably won't survive. And the captain's like, well, I don't want to survive. I want to live. It's like, well, yeah, like the captain is finally choosing to live. He's finally going on, and he's saying like, yeah, I don't want to get cooped up in this ship anymore. Like, I want to go on and be able to branch out and be able to finally go on and discover a whole world out there, which is Earth. So the captain is to go on and say, well, hey, I'm the captain of the Axiom, and we're going home today. So an alarm starts going off, and so the captain ends up getting arrested. The captain ends up getting arrested. The captain ends up, or the captain ends up getting seemingly arrested. The plan ends up getting shucked into the trash, and then all of a sudden we come to find that Wall.E is coming out of this garbage chute, and he has the boot over his head. So Wall.E now has the boot. He has no idea what's going on. The captain is telling Wall.E, hey, give me the plant. Give me the plant, Wall.E. And Eve is trying to like, hey, give him the plant. Yeah, he's gonna. So, and then Otto comes in. So, Otto ends up electrifying Wall.E, and also they end up taking out Eve. Otto confines the captain to his quarters, and so the next thing we see is that Eve is to have gotten rebooted and she wakes up. She's in a landfill that's going to get crushed into a cube. Hi, isn't that ironic? Because that's what Wall.E tends to do. So Eve is going to get destroyed and Wall.E along with her. So at some point, Eve rescues Wall.E from getting crushed, and as they try to leave through this airlock, they come to find that Mo has been following Wall.E, gets stuck into the door. They grab onto Mo, and that saves them from airlock, and they end up getting out of. They end up getting safe, and they end up getting out of this whole thing. So Eve goes on to realize that Wall.E is a little bit damaged. Eve scrambles to find parts to try to fix Wall.E, and Wall.E introduces himself to Mo. So Eve goes on and tries to find parts for Wall.E, and then Eve starts talking about her directive. Wall.E goes on and hands Eve this shoe and the shoe that has the plant in it back. So Eve fires off with her gun, and we then have these police bots that are finding this one painting bot that is malfunctioning and trying to take care of it. Eve goes blasting through and is to stop that whole chaos from going on. So the painting bot goes along with uh, Eve and Wall.E, and then all of a sudden, as all the other men malfunctioning bots start to see both Eve and Wall.E, they follow them. We see this pattern starting to emerge. All these malfunctioned bots start to follow both Eve and Wall.E here. So now we have the captain. He's imprisoned in his own room. And so what he goes on and does, like, well, hey, like, as he goes on and reads that book, the captain goes on to adjust uh, his room to where he can go on and send a message out to the people, going on and telling them about the whole, like, hey, we found life on Earth. If anything, Eve and Wall.E are to go on and be the ones that are trying to save us so we can get to Earth. So if anything, yeah, like, this is, like, he explains to all of them what all is going on. So, and he also realizes that at some point Otto will figure out what he's doing and cut him off at some point. So so the captain pretends to Otto that he has the plant with him, so that way Otto will get to his room. So come to find out, the captain just outsmarts him and is like, "Oh yeah, I have this boot," which he really doesn't have, and he does it so that way he can fight with Otto, so he can grab the steering wheel and start to take control to get this autopilot to stop. So we have the captain that goes on to start to take control of the ship and starts to get oxygen helmets over everyone's head. That's what it looks like. This weird yellow, like see-through like helmet thing that they all have over their heads. So Wall.E and Eve, like, they're flying in here, and at one point we come to find that the ship, because it's starting to get off of autopilot, is starting to lose control, and so now all of the people are starting to slide out of their chairs, starting to fall out. Eve and Wall.E are getting to this station that is to have this housing of this plant life. So they're trying to get to there. So now we cut to all the humans that are all sliding off of their chairs and sliding down what looks like a field. And we have John and we have Mary. The two of them are going on and seeing a number of babies all slide down with them. And so Mary and John are hoping to control these babies' descent. And so Mary's like, well, hey, I hope you get ready to have some kids because we're all sliding down to us. So they capture the kids, they control their descent, and they save the babies from getting hurt or injured. So so now Eve is starting to see this metal piece that could probably be so heavy that it can probably hurt the humans. So Eve is kind of controlling these metal pieces, trying to get it from bending or pushing against the humans to try and protect them. All while Wall.E is trying to get the plant in this area to house it to, like, kind of open up here. So Wall.E is going on and hoisting this thing up to keep it from closing. And the more and more it seems like he's getting crushed. So as we finally have the captain that takes control of the ship, we have Mo that is to spot the planet Boot and he lifts it up. All of a sudden, all of the people start taking this planet and start shifting it to person to person to person. As Wall.E is now to go on and be hoisting this thing up and keeping it there, they finally figure out a way to put this boot and this plant into this housing agent to keep it locked. And then Eve takes Wall.E from the place that he was getting confined by and saves him and pulls him out. So now we see all the malfunctioned bots, and we see that the ship is going into hyperdrive, and like, man, it's taking the captain really, like, it's really pushing him off. Like, it seems that everybody on the ship is kind of getting this like this kind of really warped kind of look of themselves. So we now cut back to Earth. Hal is going on and just kind of making his way through Earth and just kind of like and seeing this red light. So the Axiom ship has landed. We'd come to find the captain and a number of other people are all on their own seemingly fruition. They're all walking out of the ship, or on their own feet, walking out of the ship. And we have a bunch of the malfunction bots all walking out of the ship themselves. And now we have Eve and we have Wall.E. They're back to the transport vehicle. Eve in that transport vehicle is looking for pieces to make it so Wall.E can work again, trying to put him all back together again like Humpty Dumpty. So after going on and putting all these pieces together, Eve realizes the only thing that Wall.E needs is solar power. Eve shoots into the wall of this transport vehicle to let light come in, and the solar power panels start working, and Wall.E starts working again. Wall.E, it seems, comes back to life, but it's not the same Wall.E. Wall.E all of a sudden starts to go on as Eve is to show him the light bulb and the Rubik's Cube and the movie, and Wall.E has no memory of this. Wall.E is to go on and just be like, oh, well, like, I'm just going to take all these items and thrust them into a cube and go about my workday. So, Wall.E starts to go about his normal day, and Eve is just upset. It's like, hey, hold my hand, do this. And so Eve goes on and is to connect with Wall.E via head to head, and there's a spark that flies between the two of them. And as Eve is like, oh, well, I guess Wall.E just doesn't work anymore. I guess I should just give up on this. Like, and so Eve starts to walk away, and all of a sudden she can't let go. It's like, and then we find that Wall.E is to remember who he is, and like, all right, we get the happy ending. Like, oh man, you guys are going on, and you were thinking, you guys were thinking that you could go on and kind of and mess me up like that. That Wall.E by the end of all this is gonna go on and just forget who he is and just go back to the construction bot that he used to, even though we've been carried so much by this robot character that you're just gonna go on and do me dirty like that. Nah, that's not how it's gonna end. So both Eve and both Wall.E, they're watching that movie again. The part where the romance is going on. And then both Eve and Wall.E get to see malfunctioning robots all kind of be grouped up together. They're all having a good time. The humans are all have to have made their way onto Earth, and the captain is mentioning about the infinite amount of farming and planting they can do. That they'll have a pizza plant, and he's like, yeah, all kinds of plants. So I guess he doesn't know how pizza really works. Like pizza, it's like, yeah, it has to come from potatoes and all kinds of things. Anyways, so we get a moment where it's like it's good to be home. Then the next thing we go on and see is like the cutback to Eve and Wall.E on the the transportation vehicle. We get further and further cut back to see the Earth uh, with all of its grass on it. We cut back even further to see the Earth, and that's what kind of wraps up this film. That's what kind of gets us into credits. So, with that said, man, did I really mess up this review. Like, I was just like, blah, like the longer and longer this went along. You could tell that I was trying to figure out how to talk more about this, but I couldn't figure out the words at some certain points because, like, what the heck is any of this stuff that I have to talk about at a certain point is very difficult. But either way, I'm sure that people really like after the initial like my thoughts about this thing. No one's really going to just be like, "Yeah, I really need to hear what you said, every beat and whatever." But either way, this is going to be up. This is going to be a video. I'm going to upload this today, as well as also I've already gone on to do the other video that I did today, which I won't talk about because it's a whole other thing. Uh, like I want to kind of, that's gonna be tight if I want to go on and I want to try to do another video today. I'd really have to go on and pick my content wisely. I could probably start one and then uh, and then do the review tomorrow. But I'm already kind of really pushing it by doing these two reviews in one day. Uh, yeah, because I watched this one the night before, and then the other movie I'm reviewing today, I watched it and then reviewed it because it's only like an hour and change. So I was like, okay, I think I could probably go on and I could squeak this and do like a double thing today, even though ultimately I really just did that one because it was like a quick movie that I could do. I think there's going to be some projects where I'm going to be trying to squeak things in just because I think it's a quick thing to do. I think I probably could go on and maybe try to see if I could maybe squeak in like an anime piece of content that's only like a couple of episodes or something. Like I could probably try it, but I'm just thinking I'm like, man, like I'm already kind of tired now. Just imagine trying to do that on top of all the things I've already done today. But uh, like I'm trying to plan ahead of what could be better, more enticing content for people to see. But that obviously isn't going to be coming out today. Um, but like, I really am going on and trying to put my best foot forward. Maybe not every day, but like some of these days, I'm really putting out some really good content. I feel, um, but maybe not today. But I'm gonna get out of here. I'm tired. Uh, anyways, thank you for watching this. Thank you for being a part of these videos in any way that you can. Hopefully, hopefully we'll keep going. Hopefully we'll keep doing this. Hopefully we'll keep. Um, hopefully we won't keep getting donuts. Hopefully somebody will be watching this content. Uh, I would like to go on and find some piece of content that could get me back to doing some kind of like 1,000 video, but I think it just needs to be the right content, and hopefully I can find that. Hopefully I can get that. Hopefully I can figure out how to find that sweet spot. Because I really feel that there has been some content that has kind of gotten to that gap, but just not exactly uh, crossed it. Like there's some stuff where it's gone on to be like 100 or 300 or stuff even like recently. It's kind of amazing and surprising. But I'm grateful and appreciative that the person behind those views, because you're just not a number, you're not a subscriber, whatever any other of those kinds of bullshit things that people have to go on and tell you that you are instead of just saying who you really are, which is a person. That's still to this day to be the thing that kind of annoys me. Where, but there's also some times where I feel that I probably go on and I even attack my own viewership, where it's just like, where I'm just like, man, like, none of this, like, but ultimately I'm just like, it's just like, no, I get it. Like, this was a stupid choice this day, and I'm just gonna keep continuing to make dumb choices because like I've gone on to find the things that probably people are interested in. Um, but it's all just so random on this channel. That's my biggest problem is I'm too random on this channel. People are just like, really? These movies today? These things? Like, try to make better choices. And I can understand that. Um, but I don't know. I just like I thought I could. I like it was like Dogma. Like I was thinking like, man, yeah, this is gonna be a fun movie. People are gonna like it. People are gonna like, ah, yeah, Dogma. Yeah, no one cared. Like I was like, oh yeah, like people go on and find fun with this project, and no one cared. Yeah, hey, people really liked anime lately. Maybe they'll go and like this show that I had fun watching. No, no one cared. Or eventually it's to be like one of those smallish building, find random person, like, but it won't go on and make a real impact. It won't go on and won't really um, make a difference. I just want to do something that can, at this point, make a difference. Um, Not a number difference. I'm just saying, like at this point, like I just want to go on and I just really want to have something feel worth it for me to have done at this point. Because I've done so many of these videos and it just kind of feels like, oh, well, like, here's another one. Like, here's another thing. Here's another project. I did 2 videos today, but what does that mean? Nothing. Um, but yeah, so here's just another project going out there, and it won't make much of any impact or nothing. But like, I've been surprised. I've been really surprised. There's been, but again, it's the gamble. It's the it's the real just like hell yeah. Like let's hope that this one is the one that changes things. Um, that I can finally go on and just be like, yeah, this is the one that hit. So I can go on and finally not have to just kill myself every day to just research and do all that. But it's sour grapes for me going on and getting further into this. Um, because yeah, there was sometimes where I'd go on and I'd find something that was really successful for the channel, and I think that probably also just kind of sabotaged me. Is kind of like I started to get kind of lazy, or I just kind of started to get like, oh yeah, I can just put anything out now because that was so successful, and then the downfall of the channel started to happen. So plus also like I was thinking like I'm kind of getting a momentum now. I think I'm putting my best foot forward, and then I go on and I find some flops and I find some things that no one really cares about. Um, I don't know. We'll see what this does, if nothing. Uh, uh, it'll be funny, um, if either one of these does the videos that he did today. If either one of them like whoo wow yeah like really that one, um, yeah, like over the channel, like when initially I even did this before I was even here, it was so shocking when eventually I would find stuff that eventually would do well. Like when I found stuff like Stanley's Lucky Man, when I found um that like well obviously yeah, I could do superhero movies, but very specific ones did extremely well, and then even now when I came onto this channel, they did even better because I started to change how I was doing thumbnails. I started to change how I was doing um, everything. I started to really go on and be more fun and creative with the videos. Besides, maybe even the dialogue within them that I don't think is quite there yet. Uh, I think there's. I think for me, uh, like I don't have that wacky zappy like that to me would probably be way too hamming it up and way too performance and way too like I feel that this whole video thing is just kind of me talking to somebody like a conversation. Like it's to not go on and pretend to be uh like some kind of um like oh I'm gonna talk like this now and CNN and and be some like disc jockey that I feel like my voice should go on and be the most attractive thing to this channel instead of me going on and being me. Like fabricate and pretend who all I am, um, just so that way I can go on and just be able to be successful in this just doesn't make sense to me. Be going on and losing that 70 pounds was just be like, well, hey, I have this equipment to make this drastic change, and and like also like that could be very hurtful where it's just like oh well hey like I've gotten to a point where I feel like things have really drastically changed for the channel because of how different I look now, but also like has it changed enough so it's just kind of like it's a pushing of of like well how can I make myself look better, how could I, and that's a slippery slope. But anyways, I'm going to get the heck out of here because I've talked for long enough. I'm sure. Plus, I'm also kind of considering doing another project of it. How crazy am I? Um, what is 2 videos not good enough in one day? Not for the videos I chose. But anyways, with that said, I'm gonna get the heck out of here so I can kind of relax and and just kind of decompress from all of this talking and all of me having to kind of think this whole entire 2 movies through, uh, hours of technically content. I say hours, but really not much. Anyways, thank you for watching this. However, you're going on and dissecting this. So I'm gonna get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.